and welcome back to the Pop Shot Podcast, the number one podcast featuring two-part Italian guys and a Scotsman. So, on this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the news of the week, what we've been reading, watching, and playing, and for your consideration, and this week's topic, underrated and overrated superheroes. But before all that, I am joined today by Dan the Man.
Dan the Man minus all his hair.
Mine's always there. He's bald in a...
I got it shaved off because it's summer and I'm warm.
It's like
It's much better.
Oh.
And everyone's favourite part Italian, apart from me, of course, Chrissy.
I know, yeah. You can actually see my double chins now, which is like a good thing instead of just
Exactly.
Chrissy, a static image.
We can actually see his face.
See the fact you've got a camera, man, it's crazy. I can't deal with it, man.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm Massimo, and this is the Pop Shock Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so... with the introductions out of the way, it was very sensual, just close to the mic. With the introduction out of the way, we're going to hop straight into the news of the week. And Dan, would you like to kick us off?
Sure.
What's the news story that you've got for this week?
Well, this is a kind of double barrel. Because guess what? I started writing for a real big website and I'm a proper writer, man. Yeah!
Professional writer.
Yeah, somehow I've managed to find someone that will pay me to talk shit. I don't know how I've managed that, but I'll take it.
Landing on your feet, Dan.
So yes, the news story, the first news story I wrote for this website was about the Max Payne remasters or remakes even. Yeah, those old Max Payne games, Max Payne 1 and 2, are being remade from the ground up in the style of Resident Evil or, I don't know, Final Fantasy 7. So yeah, it's what's so interesting about it as well. Remedy, who made the first two Max Payne games and who made Control recently and a bunch of other games.
Quantum Break, for those who
game,
remember.
And did he make Alan Wake?
Yes, he does, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, so that mob, they are very talented and they are doing another Max Payne game, which I've for years, like Control was alright, but I was like, God, just do another Max Payne. So, the interesting part of this is that they have partnered again with Rockstar, because back in the day, on the PS2 days, Remedy developed a game, but Rockstar published it and distributed it. And then Rockstar made Max Payne 3. So,
which I think is a very underrated game.
Max Payne 3 is good. I've always been gutted that they didn't make a fourth.
The multiplayer was phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah.
The multiplayer for Max Payne 3 was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, but they are making these two games again. It'll come like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 came, the two games in the one disc. This is the same. The one package, the two games. And it's not just a remaster, it's a complete remake. But I think one of the most interesting parts of it is the fact that Remedy are back in bed with Rockstar. I didn't expect that. Given their success recently with Control and stuff, I was like, oh, they're not going to go back to work with Rockstar, but they have. And it's great for the sake of Max Payne. It's a good thing.
I was going to say, Dan, as well, like recently as well with the whole GTA.
I was going to say
original,
that,
the trilogy, the remaster for
that. Yeah,
that was a disaster.
Like,
that's true.
I'm thinking
possibly that was like a deterrent for them to do it themselves. They were like, no, let's get the old teams to do it.
Exactly. Let's outsource it back to the original people who actually know how to make it, because that was, by all accounts, I don't know, commercially, like apparently it might have done quite well, but because obviously pre-ordered it and bought it, but the game itself was an absolute travesty.
Good memes though.
Good memes.
But I'm buzzing about this, man. I love Max Payne. I will 100% go back and play those two games again.
Is there a time frame for it?
There's no release date, but they've said fiscal year 2023. So
I think they've already started working on it.
We'll probably see a trailer. I'd say next year at some point, like early 23.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But yeah. And the way that it's working the deal, so Rockstar, when the game goes on sale, right, Rockstar will take all of the money earned by the remake on its release until all the development and marketing costs have been made back. So Rockstar only want to make their money back, basically. Whatever they're funding this game, they want back, and then anything over and above that goes to Remedy.
Oh, that's actually a really good deal for developer.
So that's the way it's been split, which is quite interesting. But it's still in the concept development stage, so still early development, obviously.
Yeah. mean, it's good that it's being thought about though, and the fact that we're getting some sort of clear-cut release window at least.
Yeah.
About fiscal year 2023 is a good thing, and I definitely think that giving it back to the original developers is the right way to go.
Yeah.
It could also spur new kind of like projects on the go. They might go like, well, we worked well for the past 2 years. Can we continue it?
Well, that's what I'm secretly hoping for. Like, see the way that Crash Bandicoot got its trilogy, and then they made Crash 4 off the back of that. I hope they do that with this. I hope they do remaster the first 2 Max Payne games and then just do a Max Payne 4. That'd be awesome.
I mean, that's fully based on financial stuff, though, because I have a feeling that most likely it will do well, but if it doesn't do well, then it'll kill any sort of
100%
continuation.
But I think this is one of the ones that's obviously for kind of people my age. I think don't know how many young people are going to play Max Payne 1 and 2 again. But
that's fair.
But I'm excited, man. I'll definitely be on this when it comes out, and I will put the full news story in the description. If you want to read more, please click that because I get a kickback. So that'd be
nice. With that being said, Chrissy, what's the next news story on the plate? What has interested you this week?
Like, there's a wee little spark in my heart for RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., and I've always loved the Sherlock Holmes movies with Guy Ritchie.
I'm also a fan of them. People hate them, but I love them as well.
People hate them, like, drastically, and I think they're absolutely fucking amazing. Like, great fun. They don't even feel like 2 hours. I think some of them are, like, over 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's completely confirmed if Guy Ritchie's coming back, but I think Robert Downey Jr. might be returning for a TV series.
Yeah.
So, I think that would be.
Do we know is it on Netflix or is it on HBO?
HBO is coming on. So even that's kind of shit right there. But if it was on Netflix,
also considered Peacemaker.
Peacemaker's
pretty good. I mean,
yeah, I guess so.
It's better than Apple TV. Like,
how dare you? I will defend Ted Lasso until I die. I will defend Ted Lasso.
Is that the only good thing on Apple TV?
That's the only thing that I pretty much paid to watch Ted Lasso.
They done that show with Chris Evans where like he was a lawyer and his son done something or some bullshit that was bad. But
it's not amazing. Ted Lasso's the only really worthwhile thing on Apple TV in my opinion. If you're fans of football out there and comedy, it's pretty fun.
But apparently, to the Hollywood Reporter, I'm just reading this now. It might not be actually connected to the film series, so I don't know how that's going to happen.
Oh,
all right.
It's like not in the same time period, or is
that's
it?
Weird.
The show might be, or even taking the same place and time period. So maybe they're taking a thing from fucking Marvel and like saying let's go in a different way.
Or maybe they'll do a thing where it's like that Sherlock Holmes' descendant, also played by Robert Downey Jr. Maybe.
Oh.
Like they could do like modern day, and it's his great grandson or some shit, and it's still the same actor. I don't know.
Yeah. Are they planning to go full Marvel? Do you think and build their own cinematic universe, Chrissy?
Mate, everything's a cinematic universe nowadays. That is the favourite word of a studio right now. Everybody wants.
Warner Brothers is just that's the thing now.
Like, let's not remind everyone of the Dooku.
Oh fuck.
How like jinxed though is that thing with cinematic universes? Like, think how many. There hasn't been another successful one since Marvel. The only other one I would say would be Fast and Furious, but again, that was established before.
Fast and Furious.
Kevin Smith's Askew universe is
Jesus Christ.
And Tarantino's on the same universe as well. That doesn't count. I'm talking about the DCU and thingy. What do you call it? The Dark Universe.
My favourite thing is that DC still don't want to call it the DCEU.
I know.
They still don't want to call it the DC Extended Universe. They call it something else, just like the DC
Worlds or something.
Yeah, DC
I just
Worlds.
feel sorry for DC, man. Like, they've got so many problems at the moment.
They're so hit and miss though. Like the Batman, phenomenal. Suicide Squad, great. Peacemaker, fantastic.
But then that's the thing. It's as if they do one great thing, right? Like the Flash movies bringing back Michael Keaton. Everybody's buzzing for that, and then Ezra Miller does what they did and just ruins everybody's day. It's like
that film's never going to get released. It's never going to get released.
Do you think they'll just replace Ezra Miller like they did with Christopher Plummer and that? No, like they did with Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer.
Just reshoot it with Grant Gustin.
Or no, get Timothée Chalamet because he's like Ezra Miller but good.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine if that's what they did though? Because at this point they might as well. Because that film is never coming out.
I know.
Is it? What was the actual drama? I just heard like something happened. Like,
so he got arrested. He was apparently, they were apparently in a karaoke bar, and there was a couple singing karaoke, and Ezra Miller got pure raging and was like threatened him, like, you better shut up and all that. Wow. And then the couple were like, mate, who are you? Go away, like whatever. And then they went up to their room. He followed them to their room, burst in the door, said, I'll kill you and your wife, or I'll bury you and your slut wife. And then he stole their passport and their wallet.
What?
What a psychopath, man. What an actual nutter. What a nutter Ezra Miller is, man.
And then DC and Warner Bros. Announced that all future projects with Ezra Miller are paused currently, which includes Fantastic Beasts, I guess.
Which is out next week. Too late, motherfuckers. Should have thought ahead of that one. Like,
and also, I guess that means The Flash as well.
Like, I actually do feel a bit sorry for Miller, because clearly the person needs mental help. Like, that's not normal. To throw your career away like that just isn't normal. Do you know what I mean?
Look, I don't know.
Something going on there.
Yeah, I feel like for him especially, like, we don't know behind the scenes stuff. I think the public, and it could be a number of instances, it could be any number of things, mental health, it could be play a massive impact, it could just be the fact that maybe he's not taking well to being so in the public eye with some of the biggest properties.
Well,
I was going to say, is it kind of like the same thing with like Shia LaBeouf? Like,
yes, it is.
So famous, and then.
But the meme I saw was, when you take a weird theatre kid and make them a big star, you either get Ezra Miller or Timothée Chalamet. Like, I can go one way or the other. Do you know what I mean? It's
nice pendulum going.
Yeah, it's like they're yin and yang. Like, Ezra Miller's the dark side of Timothée Chalamet. His alter ego.
Oh man, that's a sad man. But all hope to him.
Like, I know, like that's the thing. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, whatever. Like, Ezra Miller's such a famous and whatever, but it's not as simple as that. Like, clearly they need help.
Well, swiftly moving on from Ezra Miller. Thor: Love and Thunder, which hasn't even been released yet, has actually broken a record. However, it's maybe not a record that fans really want to hear, as apparently it currently has the shortest release window between a trailer being released and its release date.
Yep.
Because Thor: Love and Thunder's due, US release date is 8th of July 2022, which most likely means it's probably going to be the 6th of July in the UK because we get things early. Mm-hmm. We love it.
Although, Multiverse of Madness, see, the Philippines didn't get Spider-Man till late. They're getting Multiverse Madness 2 days early. Which is like, yeah, it's good for them.
Because they
deserve it.
Because obviously we're getting it a day or two earlier than the US, so then they must be getting it because we're getting it 5th of.
They're getting on the 4th, I'm sure. Philippines
so we're getting it the 5th of May, and then they're getting it on the 4th in the US. We're getting it the 6th or 7th.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, so Love and Thunder has actually broken a record set last with the Edward Norton Hulk film, which was not a great film, as we all know. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. It's
it's mediocre.
It's part of the MCU.
I liked his Bruce Banner.
Yeah, it's a good Bruce Banner, and there's some good bits in it. And as we know, it's part of the MCU because it's been acknowledged and stuff like What If, and Tony Stark appears at the end of the film as well.
And Abomination's in Shang-Chi.
Abomination is in Shang-Chi as well. Well, that's the same version of Abomination.
Well, he calls him a meal. He calls him a meal. So
different design, I guess, though. But yes, so it's an interesting thing that they are leaving the release of this trailer so late, and people are saying that does not bode well for the project. However, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I think this film was going to be incredible, and the main reason I say that is that back when I used to review for a certain comic website, I wrote a bunch of articles that had leaks that were all about the set photos and stuff like that. Yep. And I saw the set photos and Natalie Portman as Thor and stuff, and they have Matt Damon returning as fake Loki again, which is going to be interesting, and the weird fake play version of stuff. But yeah, the sets look really promising, the costume design look really great, and I think that's just been kind of doubled down because there's been a leak apparently from Walmart that is showing off some character figures. Some character action figures from the upcoming film, and there's a lot there, to be honest.
So the thing that I don't like about this, I kind of hate when the first look you get something, whether it's a spoiler or a costume. I hate when it's a toy. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's going to be
If
accurate.
it's
going
if it's not like an official poster, it's just, to me, that just screams bad marketing. And this isn't the first time this has happened with this. I'll maybe try and edit these leak images in. But this isn't the first time it happened. Like a while ago, there was a guy that painted a mural on a wall, and it had the full Natalie Portman costume. We'd only seen that before on a T-shirt. The first leak of her in the costume was on a T-shirt, and it was pure grainy, bad quality photo. And then there was this mural that this guy painted, which again, it shows her in a suit, but it's not official. It's just a guy painting a mural of a design. Do you know what I mean? And then this is toys now. It's like, why have we getting all this before we're getting an official look? It does kind of scream that something's not right. Like,
so we've got our official first look at Gore, the God Butcher as well, like official.
That's Christian Bale's character, right?
Yeah. By the way, the face sculpt of the figure actually pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like
actually looks like Christian Bale, unlike the Natalie Portman one.
What is the big foot about? Why is there a big foot?
Oh, so that would be no. So that is all of the figures when you collect them as part of the Legend line, build up to build one giant figure.
I see that.
However,
they all have a big foot with them.
Yeah, well, no,
exactly.
Just off feet. Feet
It's just fucking.
So I think it shows you the back of the box, and I can't. Oh, it's Korg.
Okay, you build Korg.
You build Korg. You build Korg. That's the figure you're building. But yeah, so as part of the line of leaked figures, we have a Star-Lord, a Thor, which looks like he's wearing kind of like Thor, kind of like maybe like King Thor kind of armor, kind of like Asgard from kind of Jason Armstrong kind of thing going on. I think
that's what's interesting here actually. So you've got Ravager Thor.
Yeah,
Ravager Thor looks way more like Fat Thor from Endgame. Whereas Thor in his suit has got the tight stomach and the big abs and all the rest of it. So I wonder if that is the same character or if they're going to do a multiverse thing where there's two Thors.
Or it's maybe just someone who possesses the hammer, so they are Thor. Because you've also got the Mighty Thor, which is Jane Foster. And then and maybe you've got this Thor, which is not the same because it's maybe not Thor Odinson, who is.
And then what's interesting is you've got King Valkyrie, which means that Valkyrie is now in charge of New Asgard.
And we've also got
Groot,
and we've got Groot and Star-Lord, and as I mentioned, Gore. So that's interesting. I'm wondering how big a part Star-Lord and Groot and the rest of the Guardians are going to play in this film.
That's what I'm curious about with this coming out before Guardians 3, because I figured at the end of Endgame, when Thor gets on the ship with the Guardians and stuff and they're going to look for Gamora, I thought, well, that's Guardians 3. Thor's going to be helping the Guardians find Gamora.
Well, people thought it was going to be as Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be the title for it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden here we've got Thor coming out first, and I wonder how they're going to incorporate the Guardians and then still, because apparently I think Hemsworth is in Guardians 3. So, I don't know if that's been confirmed, but I've heard that rumoured. So I'm just wondering how they're going to work it all in.
This is my issue as well, is that I don't know how much. Well, my issue was the reason why they were putting off the trailer release was because of Multiverse of Madness. Right. But I'm like, why would they do that? Because I don't know how big a connection there's going to be between those.
It kind of slightly seems like they're cutting their nose off to spite their face. It's like they're losing, in my opinion, a bit of PR for Thor for the sake of another movie, and it's kind of like, why would you sacrifice a movie like that?
In terms of like releases and stuff like that, we got a photo from Chris Hemsworth Instagram that is Taika Waititi, Chris Hemsworth, and Tess Thompson, I think her name is.
Tessa Thompson.
Tess Thompson. Who are on what looks like to be a filming behind the scenes footage, B-roll footage, or kind of like press junket stuff for the film, and they have their hands in all a very particular way. If you want to look up the footage image, you can probably do that, or I don't know if Dan's going to put the image here.
Can I look it up? What's it under? Sorry,
it's just on Chris Hemsworth's Instagram page.
I don't have Instagram. I'm boomer.
Just look up Chris Hemsworth, like Thor on Instagram. So what you have is Taika Waititi going like this with two fingers. You have Chris Hemsworth going like this and pointing finger like that way, and then you have Tess Thompson going like this. And people are basically saying that is them telling that the trailer is going to come out on the 11th of the 4th, 2022.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
Oh, that's a fucking leap.
That's a leap.
That's a massive leap.
So, as of time of recording, there has not been a trailer released for Love and Thunder, and it is the 10th of April today, which means if it does come out tomorrow, we predicted it here first. It does. If it doesn't,
But by the time this gets uploaded, it'll be past that date, right?
Yeah, but that's why I'm timestamping us
Right,
to
okay.
make sure that people know that we
Yeah,
aren't just
we're
saying.
recording on the 10th of April at 20 minutes past 2.
Fast
right?
to
There
exactly.
you go.
There we go. So we have a timestamp. We have so we can prove to people that we did predict this first. No, yeah, it's a bit of a leap of logic. I think it is possibly hinting for the fact that there's going to be a trailer, because the caption with it is some long led press for Thor: Love and Thunder
I
with
see
these
it.
two wonderful humans. A day full of wackiness and hilarity. Get ready, folks. This film is going to be wild.
I see it now, but I can't make it full screen because I don't have Instagram because I'm a boomer. But yeah, I can see it in the wee thumbnail. They're all sitting in chairs together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to actually say, is it like something that they've learned just to not actually put out so many trailers now? They're just going to put out
See,
one, and
I think
that's it.
Spider-Man did such a good job of that though, because Spider-Man
Yeah.
took forever to get a trailer out.
And maybe,
See-
but like, look at that. That broke records, you know. So it's
What I'm
that's
saying,
maybe they're
see,
looking at.
see, to be honest now, I don't even really know how much you need to market a
Yeah,
Marvel movie.
film.
You just
It's
go and
like
watch
people
it.
are going to go and see it. It's locked in at this point. I mean, I always say this with certain properties that there's only certain properties you could get away with not dropping a trailer. I feel like GTA 6, if they didn't show a trailer and just gave us a date, the pre-orders would still be through. It wouldn't matter. And I feel like Marvel in that kind of same position where they could just drop it and nothing else. But then the thing is, in Marvel, in any sort of superhero franchise, the merchandise is such a big part of their income. So obviously they're going to want to sell toys, which is going to spoil stuff. So that's
But, like,
price you need to pay, I guess. But yeah.
But it kind of goes to Massimo and Dan's point about it's coming out, like Doctor Strange is coming out in May. So they've kind of fucked themselves with the whole kind of like theatre release. You know, they've only got a month basically in between two films, and maybe not a lot of people would go
Yeah.
to see both of
I
them.
mean,
Maybe it's like a choice. You know?
about 2 months or so, give or take. But even as you said, then the clash of marketing, because
People won't know what to do. They'll be like, what do I do?
it's
Yeah.
also merchandising as well. Like, what are you going to buy? Would you rather have the Marvel Legends for Doctor Strange or the Marvel Legends for
Yes.
Lord of the Thor? Wish Jared was here because he could talk all day about that, because he's a big action figure collector guy.
Yes.
But you know what I mean, like, that kind of thing. Like,
I wonder, this is a shot in the dark, right? And there's no going to be anywhere known, but I wonder if they've done that because my camera's froze again. Not because my camera's froze again, but it has.
sorry for technical difficulties, everyone. Dan's camera
Because-
is not great.
I wonder if they are doing that because I don't know. I think there's certain folk that aren't into this whole multiverse thing. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of people, especially kind of casual Marvel fans, that when it comes to like what if and multiverse stuff, they're like, mate, this is too far for me. I'm checking out. And I wonder if they're putting Thor out so that anyone that doesn't get caught up in the whole No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness thing, they'll catch with Thor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's kind of damage control in that sense.
I think
Like,
it's
try to
definitely.
keep their audience.
I definitely agree with that, because I think that it's good to have those two aspects of their Marvel universe, because, like the comic books, there is multiple storylines going on and there's multiple things happening, and that was always a big appeal of the cosmic side of the MCU. It was tangentially connected, but wasn't connected directly to all the stuff that was happening on Earth with all the other characters.
I think they got stuck in a route with like Endgame where like everything was building up to the. Oh my god, my hands look pure weird here. I must have like fish eyes lens or something. But like everything was leading up to Endgame, so they had to make the films needed to connect. Now they've got that freedom where Doctor Strange is happening. You might get a reference like what happens in like Val Kilmer or George Clooney's Batman, where he says, "Oh, that's why Superman works alone." You know, it's just a reference. Or Thor's over there doing something, and you don't need to be connected to it now. It's like own wee things.
That's the biggest appeal of, like, well, we'll probably talk about it a little bit, but Moon Knight, how that is not really connected to the wider MCU as much as people maybe hope or people are glad to. Can I have it not be disconnected? And that's the thing, is you're saying, like, there's a reason why the things like TV shows exist, and I feel like to put it into movies as well is probably a smart play by Marvel to have a universe that is ever expanding, that has stories that are going on that are unconnected. You know, same universe, different storyline, rather than having to make this weird kind of interconnected tapestry that had to do 3 years past.
I think they've got something with Moon Knight as well. Like they've really nailed the TV series. Like you can say, like, you can stay with this character and really dive deep. And like if you really want to know, like you can jump. Like some people had like criticisms with like the whole like Winter Soldier kind of series and Captain America. They're like, well, yeah, but you got to spend more time than 10 minutes in the movie. Yeah,
with Bucky and Sam.
That show was shite.
It was good. It was
alright.
It
was alright.
It was fine. There was good. There was good bits to it. There was bad bits to it.
I love the suit at the end.
I love, as I will point out, I love the chemistry, like the romance between Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. It's amazing.
But that's the thing. See, if you told me before that show premiered, your favourite scene will be these two guys building a boat together.
Boat together.
Exactly. What? It was. Yeah, that was the best scene in the whole show.
Yeah, one of them.
But on a side note, I'm still looking. I don't know why I'm pointing, but I'm still looking at fucking for White Vision, man. I want to see where the hell he's ended up. Hopefully, he comes up and something.
Wrapping off the kind of news of the week then, and moving into what we've been reading / watching / listening / whatever we've been doing this week. It's for your consideration. Dan, what have you been reading, watching, listening to, playing?
Aye, so this week I have been watching myself because my camera's working again, but also I have been watching the first two Aliens films. Yesterday, Mine and Courtney Side podcast, for our consideration, we had two guests from the Universally Speaking podcast on, Ben and Sam Townsend, and it was a kind of guest choice. We invited them on and we were like, what do you guys want to talk about? And they were like, we love aliens, we want to talk about aliens. So me and Courtney watched the first two, me for the first time in about 10 years.
Really? Wow.
Courtney's seen the first one, she hadn't seen the sequel. So it was her first time watching it. So I really interested to watch those classic films again through a different lens, and see how well they hold up. And then we discussed it in great detail in our other podcast, which I will link below. But I still hold up. Still two phenomenal films. I think I still prefer the first one, just by a nose. I know it's slow and it's way more like creeping horror, and there's not really there's a lot of darkness and Stalker, but there's just certain moments of that film that are so iconic and so influential to everything that came after in terms of sci-fi horror. The sequel does have its moments of like kind of iconic, dialogue and scenes, but
I'd say the sequel definitely popularized the kind of like proper like. It was part of that big wave of like sci-fi action kind of films, like your Predators, your Robocop, like part of that kind of wave, and definitely capitalized on it and made it a different genre type of film.
We did kind of speak about it yesterday as well, how the first one takes itself way more seriously than the sequel. But was that partially what led to Alien vs Predator? When the series just gets stupid, is Aliens partly to blame for that direction? Aliens is great. Is that the catalyst for what it became?
I definitely think it had something to do with how big a box office probably Aliens was in comparison to the original Alien.
Well, they both made a lot of money, I think.
They both made money, but I think that fact as well, it's a popularity, isn't it? Like, people, like, it's like movies like John Carpenter's The Thing, which probably share that same DNA with Alien, where it is very tense and closed type spaces kind of thing, and how maybe that didn't do as well as the very, action oriented like Terminator or Predator, and then studios are looking like that, and maybe nowadays I feel like, see if something like Alien was made now, you would definitely get a full series of films that was pure, intense horror.
Universe, what Marvel Universe for Aliens? That's what you.
Well, they're trying to
that
Prometheus.
Alien Covenant.
That's awful.
Awful.
Fucking. But that's like, so one thing I think about the Alien movies is like from aliens to Alien. I mean, I guess they're like engineers in the ship, but this one thing takes out the whole fucking ship, and like in the second one they just get blattered to hell. So
even if they're Marines, keeps it consistent.
Yeah, but it's that's the kind of thing I prefer the first one.
I know what you mean. Like, the alien's more of a threat in the first one, and yet by the second one you've got the Queen and you've got these aliens that have been around longer. Like in the first one, the thing's just been born, so it's like still a baby, and it's not really
bigger. Doesn't necessarily mean better. If you know what I mean.
So you use it.
It's not the size of the boat, but the motion in the ocean. No. Or the size of
whatever you need to tell yourself, Massimo.
Shut up.
Whatever you need to say, big yourself up.
Or it's about the size of the small mouth that comes out of your actual mouth. I don't know.
I love the idea of Massimo standing in the mirror like that. Bigger is not always better. Taking himself up.
Writing it on the mirror with lipstick. You're good enough. Bigger is not always better.
Betty's chatting, like, you alright there, mate? Is everything okay?
How the fuck did did we get here?
Well, welcome to the Pop Shop Podcast.
Yeah. The intro.
Sorry, I'll move things along. So, I've been watching Alien, and I've been playing Batman Arkham Asylum. I don't know if I mentioned that last week.
Oh.
But revisiting that remaster, I'm having a great time. I just fought Poison Ivy this morning. Just battering Poison Ivy whenever a plant thing opens. Just nostalgia. And
Can't say that. Hang on. Whoa.
That's like you've got kind of a claustrophobic theme kind of going on because Arkham Asylum's kind of like
also,
that.
yeah,
it's
very
closed,
yeah.
Aliens in a ship. Have you played the actual Alien game?
Oh,
yeah,
Isolation.
Yeah,
that one.
Amanda Ripley.
Yeah, I don't.
Listen, it was good, that game, but my God, it dragged on. Like,
Yeah,
that game didn't need to be 16 hours long.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That was
After
crazy.
you get-
Towards the end, I was
after
like,
Oh yeah, shoot me now.
after the
You're
10th
fighting
hour,
robots.
I just got old. I'm like,
The issue with that is that it didn't have a genre switch halfway through where it could have really benefited from it. Well, like
the first half was amazing, like
brilliant,
incredible, and then it just got a bit tiresome, a bit chorish.
Anyway, well, with that being said, Chris, what have you been?
I have been prepping for the Kenobi series. So I've been watching all the prequels. Yeah, exactly.
Has that been delayed now?
It's been
2
delayed.
days.
2 days, but you're getting to
But we're getting the next episode. So okay, Ewan, that's fine.
I'm happy with that, mate. Just show me.
I like how I've said as if Ewan McGregor made that decision.
He did. He's using the Force.
Doing a Jedi mind trick on Disney. Like, listen.
As we know, Ewan McGregor is a big fan of the Pop Shock Podcast.
Shout out to you, big man. Shout out, Ewan.
Well
done, big man, Ewan.
But look, I've been listening to the Duel of Fates soundtrack. Just working and stuff like that is so great.
What's that soundtrack?
A 10-hour version of it. I was like 5 hours deep. I was like, yes.
The thing is, right, about the prequels, it's taken kind of everybody, like the whole kind of zeitgeist, a long time to appreciate them. Like, I feel like now they're only really appreciated. The score is the one thing that I appreciated from day one. Like, that score's always been amazing. What's a highlight?
I think the issue with the prequels, which we could talk all day long about, and who's everyone's favorite prequel film and stuff, and we could definitely disagree about that. But yeah,
Deja vu. Deja vu. I'm sure we've had this argument before.
Really? No, never.
That was a different multiverse.
Different one. No, but that's the thing. That I think is, as you said, Dan, very appreciative. Like characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and that part of that story, and Ewan McGregor's particular portrayal of it, and just like I'm glad it's getting acknowledged because people have been screaming because that was one of the best part of the prequels. People have been screaming.
See, when you rewatch the prequels, Ewan McGregor carries those films. He carries the whole trilogy in his shoulders, man. 100%.
Which I'm so hoping they don't. We get a lot more Mandalorian, a lot less Book of Boba Fett with this one.
Yeah. And
this
is the one, for me, this is the one I've been really waiting for. Like, kind of like how I spoke last week, we'll get to Moon Knight, but I spoke last week about how Moon Knight is the first character Marvel TV show that we haven't seen before. Like, what that we've seen in Winter Soldier or whatever. Loki, but with this, with Obi-Wan, this is the first time we're getting a Star Wars series based on a major character. Like, Mandalorian obviously was an original character, and Boba Fett's, let's be honest, a side character.
And we've got Ahsoka coming out soon as well.
But again, still, she would be a side character. Like, she's not an Obi-Wan level character.
I guess Clone Wars fans would probably disagree with you, but regardless of that.
But I like to get a whole show based on a character this huge. I think it's really exciting. It'll be like an event, I think.
But I think it could definitely pave the way as well for more.
I'd love another, like, if we got a Vader show or if we got
another shot of Han Solo would be nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed Solo.
I did.
Although I will say I enjoyed Solo, but I'm glad I'm glad Obi-Wan's a TV show, not a movie.
Yes, not a movie. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Solo would be a lot better if it was a show, like a crime show, smuggler show about.
I'd watch more of Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. 100. I'd see that. Yeah.
I think that's the way forward now. See if this goes well. I do not doubt it one bit, but I think they're going to scrap movies now and just go with TV shows.
Like, if streaming services keep going, you might be right.
Yeah, they're not. I don't see them making another trilogy at this point.
I would say
I think it will definitely be either TV shows, because we've got a lot of Star Wars TV shows announced, or one-off films like Rogue One, Star Wars.
I think you're right to the extent. I think they'll keep doing TV shows while it's kind of cool and trendy. But I think 20 years time or something,
maybe they'll
shit out another trilogy then. I think I think it will be a while, but I think I don't think it's
immediate future.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
but it's something like I think like. What's your opinion of this? Like, do you think it's going to be a one and done with Kenobi, and like, or do you think it will have like sequel series? What do you think?
I think they're gonna
be like 3 months.
I think they asked Ewan McGregor, and he said that it could go either way, but he would like to do a season 2. But I think that was his words. I think he said it would work if this was it, but if they were to do another one, and he would be happy to do it.
That's the thing, though, is that we've got a young-ish Luke Skywalker who's about maybe, I think he's about 10 years old.
Yeah,
so you've got 10 years of wiggle room to play with about Kenobi.
Yeah. Talking about TV shows they need today, they need to make a Luke Skywalker TV show with Sebastian Stan.
Yes, that was
that
was my next
because everybody's like, oh, Sebastian Stan's older than Mark Hamill was. I will do it between Return of the Jedi and Last Jedi, or Force Awakens, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. There's so much wiggle room to play with. There's so many comics that exist that are canon, and there's so many adventures that happen that they could easily slot between it. And that's the thing I was going to say, is that this just opens up for more major players of the Star Wars universe to get their own stories told in a visual media, rather than just being relegated to comic book form.
Because that's one thing I had a major problem with The Mandalorian. It was fucking Boba Fett. Fuck, like they set up this whole story with Grogu, and now I think that it was either Kathleen Kennedy that came in and said, right, we need to make sure this lines up. Like this version of Luke that's amazing goes to be this depressive hermit. Hermit, don't train Grogu or whatever the fuck, just get him going.
I think as well, 100% agree with you, Chrissy. I think regardless of how it happened, whether it was Kennedy or whether it was Disney or whatever it was, whatever it was, there was a decision made in the development of this show to turn the ship. Like, you can see it when you watch that show. The first 4 episodes are totally different from the end of the season. Like that season takes a turn, and it's almost like obviously this isn't the case because I know how much effort goes into these shows, but it feels like they were doing it week to week, and it feels like after week 4 or whatever, when people were getting fed up on the Boba Fett stuff, they were like, right, let's throw in Mando and Luke, and that's what it felt like. And obviously that's not the case because these things take ages to make, they're on set or on that production. Somebody's came in and went, we need to change the course. Like 100%, you can see that when you watch it.
Kenobi is definitely an exciting prospect for the future of Star Wars media, and it's probably, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Also, a Scotsman
in
the front line.
Exactly.
So
there we go.
I'm always behind him.
we get a Scotsman in the Star Wars universe getting these shoes finally.
Let's just hope he doesn't get cancelled.
Let's man, don't jinx it, man.
Don't say us, no.
Don't say it, Dan. No. And then all the memes will come out saying you were supposed to be the chosen one. And have to do with that.
100%.
Yeah, I'll have to do with that as well. Anyway, so
timestamp that shit.
With that being said, what I have been reading, watching, listening to, which you should go and have a look at, is I've been reading an actual book this week.
Wow.
An actual book with no
pictures. What absolute geek, man.
So I have started reading The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which he's a fairly famous fantasy author, and it's part of his kind of Mistborn trilogy of books. But it's weird though, because we were talking about kind of multiverses and universes. Brandon Sanderson's books all take place within the same universe, but they take place on like different planets and shit. So all these different series are all interconnected and stuff, and it's really quite interesting. It's really quite cool, and I would definitely recommend looking into them. I don't know how many books she actually reads.
Right, as someone obviously who doesn't like fantasy and is a complete outsider, pitch this to me. What is the story of this, and what is good about it?
Right, okay, so imagine it's 1,000 years of slavery. The good guys lost, the bad guy basically won, and basically being ran by a tyrannical leader who is believed to be immortal and is like called Lloyd.
Hitler won.
Are you talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation?
Don't make it political. We're a pop culture podcast. We're not that type of pop culture podcast.
We never know.
Listen, I'm not putting them down.
I'll have to rush her through this one.
Oh,
that's very bad. Sorry.
Right, sorry, continue. Right, so
anyway, so it takes place after the basically it's 1,000 years into like a kind of tyrannical dictatorship. There is these basically the slave class who are called the Ska, who are just like people who are put down regular people. However, the kind of twist is as well that in this world there is people who can perform magic using metals.
okay.
And all the different, and there's like 8 prime metals. All the different metals have different effects that they can do on people. Some people are born that control one particular metal. So think of kind of very Avatar-esque, where you have people who can only control one element, kind of thing. And then there's some people who are born that are very rare that are able to control all of the metals and are able to use them at one.
Does that make Ian McKellen the strongest man on Earth? Because he's both Gandalf and Magneto.
Yes.
So he's just the ultimate Venn diagram for
this. If you like Gandalf or you like Magneto, yes, this book is for you. This is the ultimate. This is the target audience.
You've kind of sold it to me.
No, honestly, it's a really interesting book. It is really, like, genuinely good writing, very well paced. It's a big book. It's 650 pages, and I'm about 200 pages in.
Wow.
But it's went by like that very quickly.
Yeah.
It went by so
That's
quickly
good.
when I've been reading it. Like, that's the best thing you can tell
Yeah.
in the book. But you basically have the story is basically the main 2 characters are a person who is, I don't want to spoil it too much, so he's a very experienced allomancer which controls metal, and he's one of the ones who can control all of the metals, called Mistborns, and the other character is a younger girl called Vin, who discovers that she has the same powers as him and is also a Mistborn, and it's kind of about that their kind of relationship as a duo, while also being part of the revolution to overthrow the evil lord ruler of the continent, or the kind of the world they're in.
There's always an evil ruler, isn't there, on these things? Like,
it has to be something.
It's just
Look,
the Witcher, Lord of the Rings. It's just there's always some dick with a scepter trying to just ruin everybody's day.
A scepter and a ring
and a big tower,
exactly,
and a big throwing raging.
But I'll be honest,
every time.
From what I've heard, though, Brandon Sanderson is really good at subverting expectations, so I expect that won't actually be all the case, and there'll be some kind of interesting twist that has to relate to the tyrannical dictator rather than being very Saruman or Voldemort, etc., etc.
Cool.
But it's definitely worth the read, especially if you like fantasy. Maybe not for yourself, Dan. I don't know how you feel about that, but you know.
Did you say it's on multiple worlds? So, like, is it? Do you know?
So that the first kind of 3 books take place on the one kind of area, the one created world, but all of his series are connected.
Right.
So there are other books of the series, other book series written by him that take place in the same universe but on different planets and different places.
Right, okay.
So it's like that kind of thing where it's very interconnected, and there will be characters who maybe show up in this book that I'm reading, which is the first, and then they maybe show up later on in a different book. But apparently as well, all of his books have different magic systems and stuff, the way magic works. So it's kind of cool, kind of fantasy, kind of niche kind of thing. But it's definitely worth the read, or at least worth the.
Because I've just googled some of the artwork. It looks pretty.
Some of the fan art, some of the artwork for the books is
pretty lovely. Like it kind of gives me like elvish vibes from Lord of the Rings.
Final Empire, yeah.
So, has he wearing a big jumpsuit and all that, playing Las Vegas, dying on the toilet and stuff like that? Those kind of vibes.
Oh, poor Elvis.
That's shit, man. Why do you put me on this podcast?
Because you're the one who edits it, so really.
You have no choice.
You're the one.
But with that being said, if you like fantasy and you like fantasy, you like well-written books, which I know is a weird thing to say, it's really good and very worth it. In terms of other stuff I watched this week, I also watched Moon Knight, and we're probably going to talk about our thoughts and feelings on it.
Yep.
Would anyone like to start us off on how they thought of maybe the first 1 or 2 episodes of Moon Knight? Or
I've actually not watched it, right? Because I was waiting just to kind of get them all together. So I've heard some interesting thoughts on other people. So I was actually, you could sell Moon Knight to me. If you want, on you go.
I'll say I'm really enjoying it, but I've noticed it's totally split. Marvel fans.
Wow.
I was at my mate's house last night. We were talking about it, and there was 5 years there, right? And literally 3 years were like, "It's amazing. It's quality. Like you don't know where it's going to go next. It's exciting." And the other 2 were like, "Mate, shit. I can't get into it. I hate all the Egyptian stuff." And it's funny how it's totally split Marvel fans right down the middle.
That's insane.
This is the biggest thing that I've seen so far as well, is that people were really wanting it to be dark and gritty. But because people were like, "Oh, it has to be pure," like, "Oh, but it's so funny, it's humor." I'm like, that's part of the Marvel brand, and also part of the Moon Knight character.
Yeah.
He's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He's a crazy bastard. He has multiple personalities going in his head, and some of them are kind of funny, like Deadpool is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people don't read a comic book. If you have so much to say about this character, read the character. So yes, he is dark and gritty, but at times he can also be very funny.
I actually spoke about this last week, so I don't want to repeat myself, but it's interesting. I just want to say it's interesting again in episode 2 how prevalent the voice in his head is, the voice of Khonshu.
Yes, Khonshu, yeah.
So it's very much doing what Deadpool did in the comics with the 3 voices. Deadpool had his own voice, and he had the voice of Beast, and he had the chaotic voice.
I've heard the theory as well there might be another personality.
Well, when I was talking about it last week with Gerard, he said that it was a comics run where Moon Knight had Deadpool had a 4th voice. So I'm curious to know if that's going to be
people were saying that Mr. Knight. So in episode 2, is I really like it. It's really good.
Yeah.
You kind of get the payoff for the end of last week. You kind of find out more about his kind of Mark Spector background. You get to meet Mark Spector's wife, who Stephen has no idea who it is, and you also get a bit more FaceTime with the baddie. Which was really interesting to see Ethan Hawke being
Hawke's brilliant, man.
Phenomenal,
so
fantastic bad guy, really good. And I hope they don't kill him off at the end of this, and I hope they keep them about. Which I know was obviously is a massive problem for Marvel.
Well, they kept Agatha alive, so
kind of, but I guess that was I mean that's always a positive one. But the track record tends to be they tend to kill off her main villain at the end of the show. But it is such. I really just enjoy the really big differences. So I know Oscar Isaac's English accent is not perfect. Okay.
I heard that in the trailer.
It is not perfect. However, it makes sense if he is actually an American pretending to be a Brit.
That's what I was just going to say.
Makes sense with context. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And people were saying, "Oh, the British writing's not great because he's using." So there's a bit where he goes, he gets in a fight with a giant weird jackal thing, and he punches it, and he gets it, and he goes, "Wagwan!" that kind of thing.
Right.
And people were saying, "Oh, that's not how you would speak." I'm like, but if you were an American with second-hand British knowledge, and you were pretending to be British, would you use that sort of slang?
You would hit it with dumb shit like that,
Exactly, in my opinion. So I think it's a very intentional piece of writing, and people aren't picking up on that.
It's probably more layered than we think it is.
Because, exactly. But we do get to see we get a lot more conversation between Mark Spector and Stephen Grant, who are the kind of main 2 alter personalities throughout this. And we also, as I said, get a lot of narrative stuff from Khonshu. And we get introduced to Layla, who is Mark Spector's wife, who knows all about the weird mystical stuff that has been going on with Mark's life. And we kind of had that thing of they have a shared history, and apparently she was also looking for the weird scarab that appears in episode 1, which is a compass towards the tomb of Amrit.
Yes. The god that Ethan Hawke's serving.
Yeah, they're basically the Minority Report god who tries to stop people doing bad things before they do it.
Predestination and shit.
But I like the kind of dichotomy where it's Khonshu is the god that is of justice. So once someone has done the evil act, they get punished for it.
Yes.
Versus Animate, who is the god of precognition and kind of stopping bad things before they happen.
It really calls to mind that line in Endgame where Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, says, "We're the Avengers, aren't we? We do things after the fact. We're not the Avengers, we're the Avengers." And it's that really hits kind of this series, the tone and the kind of the main topic of this series on the head, I think. But it was interesting to see that.
But I love the Mr. Knight costume. Fantastic. Looked phenomenal. I love the thing they're doing, because I initially thought in episode 1 that they were going to do the fact that when he switches to the Mark Spector personality, it just looks like to the audience that he has the suit on.
Right.
But to outside people, he just is a normal guy beating up things. But as we find out in this episode, it is literally he's able to summon the suit onto him.
Yeah. The episode 2 was called Summon the Suit, wasn't it?
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So Mark's one is the traditional Moon Knight one with the hood and the fucking the Moonlight batarangs and the cape and all that stuff. And Stephen Grant's one is the Mr. Knight one, which is a all white suit with like a weird kind of mask.
A sock with his head.
Yeah, Crescent Moon symbol, pair of white trainers on, and like a proper kind of actual 3-piece suit.
Yeah, let's go. Looks great on screen and live action as well.
Yeah, is it in New York?
No, it's London.
It's still in London. I think. Well, he woke up. Did he not wake up
in Cairo? He woke up in Cairo.
He looked at the pyramids. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first 2 episodes take place in London, and then the end of it, you have this thing where Mark goes, "I know what I need to do," and the episode ends when he opens up the blinds of his hotel room and he's in Egypt and he's looking at the pyramids. However, you're getting a lot of stuff here. You're getting a lot of kind of backstory, a bit of lore. You find out that in this episode that Ethan Hawke's character was actually formerly an avatar of Khonshu, the Fist of Vengeance.
Yeah.
And you also find out that Khonshu is very much not at all hesitant to give off his power to someone else.
Yeah, well, he wants to give it to the wife, right?
He wants to give it to Layla, who's Mark's wife, but Mark's like, fuck off, you're not doing that, I'll be able to do it for you. But it shows that as a god, he's benevolent, doesn't really care. He's like, oh yeah, you serve my bidding, but I'll get someone else if they can do it better than me.
Aye. Interesting.
So I'm always like, I always just assumed Moonlight would be like Batman, but it's not
in the show.
I might actually watch it.
In the comic, one of the personalities is kind of like Bruce Wayne Batman, but in the show, they don't seem to be doing that at all.
That's because that's when I was like, oh, maybe it is just a.
So I think it's Jake Moon is the other personality who people are thinking might appear in this show as well, who is the normal alter for Mr. Knight. Mm-hmm. Not in the comics, not Stephen Grant.
They will do 100%. They'll do another personality,
yeah,
and
they will do, yeah.
I also think. Well, I've heard actually that there is. I don't know what they are, but there is twists that are coming. Yeah. Like there's shit that they're going to do that's going to be,
Obviously, it's a 6-issue limited series, so they've only got 4 episodes left to actually.
But I really like how they're pacing it, because the first episode, I didn't really know much about Moon Knight before this.
How did I?
I knew like surface level stuff. So they really introduced it and kind of eased you into the character. Didn't tell you too much, but just kind of give you an idea. And then the second episode really cemented who he is and his multiple personalities and where his powers came from and blah blah blah. And then episode 3, now we've got a different location, and I assume the next episode is going to take place in Cairo.
Is that they've really doubled down the fact he has superpowers in this, or powers gifted by God, whereas in the comics he doesn't sometimes have powers.
I think he thinks he does sometimes, but he doesn't.
He thinks he does, so he manifests it, I'm pretty sure, as an alter, but most of the time he doesn't.
But when he grabbed the bumper of the car and it punched in his hand.
Or he's able to literally summon a suit, whereas in the comics he just puts on a regular suit like a normal person. Also, side note, there is a comic run where his 3 alternate personalities are Captain America, Wolverine, and Spider-Man. Which is apparently, I need to read it, but apparently it's fantastic. It's a really, really good Moon Knight run.
So what would he interact with? Like, just sort of. I'm not really a brilliant thing from Marvel, but who would? I'm thinking it would be like Spider-Man and Daredevil. But
here's the thing: he's interacted with so many characters. So during, I think it's the Sins Lost event, where Doctor Strange brings back Las Vegas in the comics, and then it virtually opens up a portal to hell, and Mephisto takes control of Las Vegas. He's part of a version of the Midnight Suns who comes in. So he's connected to the mystical, spiritual side of the MCU. He's had loads of stuff with Doctor Strange, but he is technically a street-level hero like Daredevil or Spider-Man. So he's kind of got a foot in both worlds almost.
That's what I was saying last week to Jared as well in the first episode. It's really that's one of the really interesting aspects of this show, because we've not seen Moon Knight before in live action and we don't really know anything about him. Yeah. How is he going to interact with Avengers? Is he going to interact with him? If he does, what does that look like? It's really interesting. They can really go anywhere they want with it, which is quite exciting, I think.
Because if he's got if he's got powers dependent on the personality he goes,
I think they're going to double down on that. Yeah.
Imagine like he was versing say like Hulk and he was like the strong one, and then he just changed. Is that how it works? And then he changed into somebody who can't punch him? No,
he doesn't. He doesn't necessarily work like that, but it feels like they could do that within the MCU.
Because that could be that would be quite funny.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they haven't confirmed that's the way. Because his powers really work because he just swaps, and they have different personalities, they have different resources, and there is like a Bruce Wayne personality. But in this, there's definitely a part of him that has super strength. So maybe you're right. Maybe they might decide to go down a route where they have each of these personalities have a weird superpower, almost like the Captain Doom Patrol, Crazy Jane, who is Crazy Jane. Is Crazy Jane? Is that her name? That's the Doom Patrol character who has multiple personalities and has powers related to those personalities. But it really just depends.
I'm sorry to take you back to news again, but just when Chrissy mentioned the Hulk there was a rumour I read this week that Hulk will be in Deadpool 3.
Oh.
Apparently Mark Ruffalo has been... Wow. Well, so in the Adam Project, which Sean Levy made with, obviously, Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo, apparently they really liked... Sean Levy really liked their chemistry on set and stuff, so he mentioned it to Disney, and Disney were like, yeah, you can have Hulk for Deadpool 3. So apparently, rumoured we're getting Hulk in Deadpool 3. Sorry, I just keep it in my mind there.
No, that's amazing.
That'd be great. I love that.
Because I've not really heard much. Is like the Hulk TV's like She-Hulk going ahead? What's happening?
It's next year, out end of this year. Same kind of time frame as Miss Marvel, I'm pretty sure.
And that's a strictly TV show, isn't it? That's
yes.
Yeah, so
I'm excited for it. I think it's be great. Because She-Hulk in the comics is a phenomenal character.
I also hope that Matt Murdock's in it.
Yes, as Daredevil.
I think he's going to. He's from the Spider-Man thing. He's got like a 10-year plan now. Like
as we established,
we
talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago.
They are going to soft reboot it, but keep obviously Charlie Cox and Wilson Fisk. Yeah.
Well, I think that's just kind of maybe done with Moon Knight talk with the kind of possible, kind of Hulk Deadpool rumor kind of capping it off. But it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting way of the MCU going forward, and it's a very unique TV show. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens next.
The whole thing as well, I think, kind of sums up Moon Knight. After Avengers Endgame, it kind of feels like the slate's been wiped clean and we can go anywhere. That's what kind of annoyed me a wee bit about shows like Falcon Winter Soldier, which were so kind of retroactively tied to what came before. Let's wipe this. Like, I think WandaVision done a good job of starting afresh, and I think Moon Knight's the same.
I think it's going to be fantastic. You've got these new characters who are being introduced through TV shows. Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, all going to be great in my opinion. And I think we've got some great things coming up ahead in the MCU. With that being said, let's move on to our final segment and the topic of this week's discussion, which is, I believe, did we go overrated and underrated heroes for this week?
Overrated and underrated superheroes.
I think we did. Overrated and underrated superheroes is kind of the topic of the week, and each of us,
heroes and villains? No, just heroes. Just
heroes. We'll leave villains to separate episodes. There we go. So we tease it at the background stuff.
Milk that cow.
Milk that cow, exactly. We know a lot about that. So, with that being said, Dan, do you have your... Oh, I don't know what's going on. I wish I could make a segue. With that being said, Dan, who are your overrated heroes, an underrated hero or heroes?
Okay, so I'm going to go underrated first. And my main reasoning for this is just the injustice that was done to this character on screen. Mm-hmm. We have, unfortunately, Black Bolt could be dead in the water because of the Inhumans. Black Bolt isn't the most unique and interesting character, but it was a shame that what he did to him in that show. Like, that just wasn't good for anyone, that show. I'd like to see either a proper Inhumans film or Disney Plus show, or just a Black Bolt solo thing. I think that'd be really interesting, because I think it's just a shame that they done him so dirty in that show, which was just absolute garbage. Like, it's not his fault that Medusa was a terrible character who get her power wasted because of CGI budget reasons. Do you know what I mean? And the big dog got kind of cut as well because of CGI. Like, just what a half-arsed attempt at a TV show that was. So I do it again, do it properly, please, Disney. MCU, fix it. Black Bolt. Because in the comics, it was... Okay, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of reaching a wee bit here. He was never one of my favourite characters. But he was an okay side character. See, when he came out like an Avengers... when he came into an Avengers story, it was always quite an interesting dynamic.
Part of Illuminati as well.
Yes, he was. Yeah. He was also part of that.
Illuminati's great storyline.
I would say he probably works better as a side character in those kind of event stories. But do the guy some justice, give us a good version. He's also, like Moon Knight, a character that a lot of people don't know that much about. So again, you can kind of take risks. It's not like Batman where you can't really change anything. Black Bolt, if you change his origin, who really gives a shit? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it'd be okay to change some of the elements and kind of have a bit of creative license with them. So that's what I want to see redone and fixed.
Okay, and are we just gonna? You want to fire away with your overrated option as well?
I'm just going to take the obvious one, and I know we all love him, but Batman's a bit of a dick, isn't he?
Yeah.
Batman, like, come on, mate, like,
I like it. I was gonna say there are some great stories, but
like even when I'm playing the game and it's Kevin Conroy who is
phenomenal.
amazing, right? See some of the dialogue he spouts, you're like, mate, you're a millionaire. Like, we'll see how he's like, that's what happens when you let the scum fester. And you're like, you're a millionaire, do something about it then. Put some money into the city, you absolute tight Tory piece of shit. Do you know what I mean?
He does. He puts the Wayne Foundation.
Shit. He should be
Yes, the Wayne Foundation. It does so much for the city, especially the Arkham games, where it ends up being a city full of criminals.
I know, yeah, good city.
Also, one thing that always annoys me about Batman, right? See, when you do like a versus match and you're just having a discussion about like, who would win a fight, the thing about
God.
The question about Batman is always, how much prep time does he have? Does he have
I know,
time to prep? Mate, shut up! Like, no, you're on a field, you need to deal with this guy in front of you. That's it. Don't prep time. Shut up! No, he has to deal with it in the moment. Like, no, he doesn't have 8 hours to plan. Like, he's just in there, and that's it. And if you can't, proper fight, then he's not good enough. Right, there you go. That's what we rant on Batman.
I mean, I love Batman, but I can see what your point is. I mean, like,
I do too. I didn't really mean any of that.
But
Exactly. You made some points. You made some points that are fairly reasonable to why he is a little bit overrated in some people's eyes. He is a phenomenal superhero, but.
And it is also a bit like, I don't mind because I love the character, but if I didn't love the character so much, I would be a bit pissed off at how much attention he gets on screen. Like, see, in the past 5 years, we've had 3 Batman.
3 Batman movies, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's like, where is Batgirl? Where is the Red? Where is Nightwing? Where is
with the Bat family? Yeah.
Where's Red Hood? All these characters are not even touched, and it's like you've got 3 Batman happening. Do expand? Do you know what I mean? Give us a bit more. Like, I don't know. That said, I'm buying up for Michael Keaton coming back, and I love Pattinson's Batman, and I did love Ben Affleck's Batman. So I'm no taking away from the 3 that we got. I'm just saying, get a bit of creativity, stop chasing the box office numbers, and fix your universe, DC.
And that's the annoying bit. Like, it's a reliable source of just getting whatever much money you want. Like, you will definitely get it. You know.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a. I don't know if it's reached $1 billion yet, the Batman film, but. It should.
I feel like it. Hang on.
It probably should have.
The latest film, I don't know if it crossed $1 billion yet. It might have. If it hasn't, I think it's forecasted to.
Hang on.
It might be like Joker. Like, it might take a wee while.
I did see. So when Doctor Strange tickets went on sale this week or last week, the first week sales for pre-orders, Doctor Strange beat Batman. Doctor Strange sold more pre-sales than Batman, but that doesn't really mean anything in the long term. I don't think.
Hang on. Oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's made a lot of money. I can't actually specifically see because it's fucking divided up in... Okay,
It's loading.
It's... Oh, yeah. 716,952,000. So we're almost at $1 billion.
Almost. Oh, well.
Check you, Massimo.
Woo!
Good job.
Terrible maths. It's a good time. But yeah, so... Chris, who are your overrated and unrated heroes?
Right, I was going to this could be a mixture, but I was going to say overrated. Like, now, that feels so stupid, but Aquaman, like, just for some weird reason, when the films came over, like, he's become like some fucking like key character when he's not really. He's kind of supposed to be a fun. Like, they've put so much effort into making him look a pure belter of a character when. He should be kind of.
Yeah, do you think they tried to make him too cool and didn't go goofy enough?
Yeah, like, I think like when you look at it, like, Batman is dressed as a bat, he's goofy. He's fish. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, like,
his costume does literally have fish scales on it as part of the top half. He's like, he's wearing like.
They've made him. I think the thing with, like, just Zack Snyder's whole point, he's lovely visionary. Like, he makes the costumes look fantastic. I don't know if he's got any input on them, probably does, but I think he made definitely Aquaman too stylish. I think he needed to ruggles him up a wee bit. Like, see if he just didn't even have the suit and stuff like that. I think that would be But I'm probably controversial. People will probably say, "Oh, I want the green pants," and
as much as I fucking hated that Aquaman film, the one,
tell us how you really feel, Dan.
the one great part of it though was the full comic book accurate suit. And the one man in the planet that can pull off that suit is Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
He looked banging in that costume, and no one else, everybody else would look ridiculous. So fair play.
Definitely,
it's not an easy look to pull off, and he managed it. So,
like the underrated character actually is going into the dark worlds of DC, and I think he's called. Oh, what was he called?
Detective Chimp. No, sorry.
No. Deadman. I got introduced to him through the kind of Constantine. So I was like, all right, okay, there's a whole different world, and then I started jumping on Deadman, and then going into a whole different wee chaotic like swamp. Is it Swamp Man? I don't know.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Swamp Thing. So it's all those. I think he's like kind of a silly character. I think sometimes, like he just kind of goes invisible and can go inside people and take them over. But I think that you could go really deep and psychological with him, like what they're doing with Moonlight. You know, like what does he take their traumas with him? You know, does he go in? This person's depressed, and then he goes in, and now he's depressed. He goes in another character and stuff like that. I have no idea.
That's kind of cool.
Like it's kind of like he's. I think he was murdered as a circus performer or something, so it's kind of a silly, gimmicky kind of thing.
Well, he has had some really interesting comic book storylines. Like, in terms of Green Lantern, he was in the Brightest Day event, where he became a White Lantern for a bit and got brought back to life. But yeah, no, Deadman's a really interesting, cool character, and as you said, leans really into that mystic side of the DC universe, because he is dead.
Exactly. Just because I think it was the comic, the animated film Justice League Dark.
Yes, yeah.
And he came in and it totally kind of transformed that kind of entry level to going, okay, this is actually interesting. I mean, he's dealing with the devil, I think, at the end of it. Or something like that, but it goes a wee bit too far for me. But like, it shows you that this could be really interesting in live action. And now, everything in my mind is going to be a TV series. I don't want to see this as a movie. I want to dive deep into like Deadman and get his emotions and see what the fuck's going on there. I want to see if he's traumatized as much as myself. Connect with him. But yeah, that's it. Deadman and Aquaman.
Both the mans.
All the men.
Very, all the men.
All the men.
Very masculine.
I was gonna say we haven't really done any female superheroes.
On you go, Mass.
Hi all.
Break up this sausage party.
No, I generally think one of the overrated heroes, in my opinion, is Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel's overrated.
Really?
Overrated.
Right.
In the comics. I'm not a massive fan of her.
What is interesting, see, when I was doing my research, in other words, looking on other articles for ideas for what to say in this segment, Captain Marvel was on both an underrated list and an overrated list.
Civil War
websites, but yeah.
Civil War 2 put a sour taste in my mouth.
Oh, let's not talk about that book.
Civil War 2 put a sour taste in my mouth about that character. Also, I don't mind. I think
he's prepping.
I think that Captain Marvel is one of the weakest outings in the MCU.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Right.
I think it's slap bang in the middle. It's fine.
I think there was so much more that could be done with it, and there is going to be more done with it because we have characters like Monica Rambeau and also Miss Marvel who are coming to the MCU, and I'm glad that that's getting expanded upon. However, I think Brie Larson's performance in that film was a little bit flat. But people could say you could do that because she's a mercenary and she's lost her memories and all that kind of stuff. But you know what I mean? It just feels a bit.
There's definitely certain points in that movie that I'm okay, but there's also certain points I think she's good.
I just think it's so hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I hope in the sequel, The Marvels, we get a lot more fleshed out that character, and we get because our version in Endgame is a lot better, in my opinion.
I mentioned this maybe last week before. I think one of the best things they could do for this sequel is bring in the other Miss Marvel characters. Because
Monica Rambeau's Proton and Miss Marvel.
I think another Captain Marvel film, it would be like, right, okay, what we did here.
I just think she is highly overrated a lot of the time in comic books.
I mean, she's like an Omega level.
Yeah, because she's an Omega level character. But I don't know. I just feel like she's like a Deus Ex Machina sometimes. Where you can sort of get out of any same thing with same issue. I love Superman. However, Superman does suffer from those same issues. and it's a lot of the high power character. Look, as I say, we don't discriminate on this podcast, so I've put a woman as an overrated hero.
I think a woman's just as shit as a man.
I think Superman suffers the same problems as Captain Marvel. That's how it works.
Feminist Massimo. Hating women just the way he hates men.
Are they not doing that though with like Captain Monica Rambeau's coming in?
That's what I'm saying. It's Proton. Yeah. So
they are making her more diverse,
and I like that, and I think it's gonna be fantastic because I love Monica Rambeau and One Division, and I also think Kamala Khan is gonna be fantastic as well, regardless of how they changed her power set. Which
Green Lantern. Yeah. But yeah, Massimo, what is your underrated character?
So I think I'm gonna go with the Question.
DC one.
Because he has one of my favorite stories in Justice League Unlimited. I fucking love the episodes he's in. They're phenomenal. It's proper noir, proper detective, and I also do think that Renee Montoya's Question is also super underrated as well, and should be used more often in the current DC canon.
Cool.
I like both versions. I think they're great.
Yeah.
I was actually watching the Kevin Smith pod. I don't know if it was an old one, and he picked the Question as well, which was
the question because the Question is full a really cool noir character that is
detective story.
It's closer to Rorschach than the Batman, but still really works and could be really interesting. I really like that character, and I feel like they could be utilized in a TV show or on screen or as a side character, even a side character. But Just League Unlimited, some of my favorite episodes have the Question. I think I actually have a comic with him on the front of it.
I've got a question. That's what I was looking up at there.
A question?
I don't. No, I've got a question comic. I don't see it though, and it's on a high shelf. So I'm not.
I think I've got because I've got these which are I got these when I was really young that are Just League Unlimited comics that are from the US that my dad brought me back, but I have one that has the Question on the front of them. It'll be somewhere. It's somewhere. But yeah, no, I generally think he is a underrated character, and also the Renee Montoya Question, because Renee Montoya is in Birds of Prey, but definitely should be utilised in the future as a version of the Question as well. I think would be fantastic.
I love Turner and Princess Bride, man. My name is Renee Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Or whatever the line was. Here, who's seen the trailer for The Northman? See the trailer for The Northman?
No.
He basically says that line.
It's Mandy Patinkin, or is it someone else?
No, it's Skarsgård. It's the Alexander Skarsgård. But he's rowing and he's like, "You kill my mother. You kill my father. I will kill you. And you will die." And I'm like, mate, this is just Princess Bride. I want to see that film, but that's just right for the Princess Bride.
But no, but yeah, fully that's for me personally. I think the Question is could be quite an interesting, gritty kind of detective thing. Yeah, but I think one of my weird underrated ones I was going to mention, I don't know if you guys want to mention the other ones that we kind of thought of. I kind of think Constantine is kind of underrated in terms of the mainstream.
As soon as you said the Question, Constantine popped out my head.
Comes in.
Because he's a very good character. He's appeared in stuff like Legends of Tomorrow, but I feel like a lot of his comics, like Hellraiser, is
again talking like Black Bolt. I talk about a character that has amazing comics and has never really been done. I don't mind the Cannon movie, but it's not accurate. Do a proper English, Starkey, Garth Ennis.
The TV show was actually really good.
Type Constantine.
It didn't get a second season, but the TV show, the one that was.
I know that people were gutted when it got cancelled, but I've never watched any of those DC TV shows.
It wasn't originally set in the same universe. It was NBC or something like that originally, and then they bought the rights to the character over at the CW, and he was on Legends of Tomorrow for days, which I really liked. I thought it was great. Legends of Tomorrow is my guilty pleasure show because the only CW show I still watch from the Arrowverse. Yeah, I don't really watch other ones. I was gonna try and get to Superman and Lois, but I never really got into it.
I've heard that's great, but I've never watched it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think Constantine is definitely one of them that's up there. I just think there's so many you could definitely talk about. I think Captain Britain was another one I thought of. As well for underrated. But he's such a big part of the multiverse and stuff.
But we could be getting Peggy Carter, Captain Britain very soon.
And
Multiverse Madness.
Yeah, but I'm talking
I know the character you mean, but we're getting that version possibly.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, fully Captain Carter would be great.
Yeah.
But proper Excelsior Captain Britain would also be really, really fun, which is the multiverse stuff and part of the X-Men and
that's one thing. Is the more like we're just talking there, I'm thinking, is Doctor Strange just going to be a launch pad for everything? Is it just
Mate, it's just going to be cameo city.
It's just going to be just when you mentioned that, I was like, fuck, it will
we
be.
still have no idea what the plot of this film is.
No, really, no.
Literally.
Did you see the latest trailer of Wanda's kids are in it? In the trailer?
Oh, I'm not seen the trailer.
Yeah, there's a new trailer with the two boys from Wonder Woman. So.
Oh, do you know what? I think I'll probably go watch that.
Interesting. It's only a 30-second clip, but yeah.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to say about our topic of the week before we probably wrap up?
Listen, what do I know? I don't write comics. Like, at the end of the day, any character can be a good character or a bad character depending on the writer. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And that is a big recommendation, I think, when it comes to reading comics. Find a writer you like, or maybe sometimes an artist you like, and follow their work. Whether it's DC or Marvel or independent, just find someone you like their style and just get into that.
If you don't have an idea, why not start off with Grant Morrison comics? Because they are not complicated whatsoever, and you have a great time reading them.
Yeah, Grant Morrison or Jonathan Hickman. Did you see read these?
No, but honestly, Grant Morrison is they are a fantastic writer, and
we will have an episode on
Grant Morrison at some point. Yeah,
no, I'm saying the best places to start reading comics. That will be around.
That'll be nice to be evergreen episode.
Yeah, that'll go up at some point. So yeah.
But with that being said, I believe that is us finished, and we ran out of time with the podcast. If you have enjoyed today's episode, like, subscribe, recommend your friends, share it, even stick it on the background. We don't care. Any feedback is good feedback. Put your notifications on YouTube, subscribe on our YouTube channel, share us on Spotify. I don't really know how it's follow the podcast on Spotify, and also follow us on socials. Is a good thing. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Pop Shop podcast on pretty much all of them.
Check out Keen Gamer website for my articles, which we'll get up.
And also check out the other podcast under the Pop Shock umbrella, which is Dan.
For your consideration.
Yeah.
Totally different from your segment called For Your Consideration. Totally different thing.
There's a nice wee bit of synergy.
Yes, check that out. And also, we've also got a bunch of legacy episodes that have just went up, like Batman and Spider-Man No Way Home, and there's so much to if you're into this, click on the channel, and there's a backlog.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be able to find all of the interesting and funny takes that we have, because we are interested in funny people on superheroes and pop culture.
Oh, I feel better after that. Thanks, man.
There you go, guys. So, with that being said, we will see you guys on the next page.
Cheers.
Woo! Woohoo!